Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel called Living in Hayward, Wisconsin, where we talk about all things real estate related and also just about what it's like living in Hayward. I'm Audrey Miller. I'm the broker owner of Northwest Wisconsin Realty Team. See my contact information on the screen below, so if you ever want to reach out to me, if you're looking to buy or sell, that would be awesome. Today we're going to go over a first quarter of 2026 market update. I like to do these once a quarter just to give people a feel for how the market is looking, how it's trending. Is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? What are we as agents in the Hayward area experiencing? Boots on the ground here doing real estate every day. So we're just going to dive into that and give you some statistics and information about the market in the first quarter of 2026. So just to give you the overview of what data we're actually looking at, we are comparing the first quarter of 2026 to the first quarter of 2025, and we're using all sales in Washburn and Sawyer County. Those are the two counties that I primarily work in, two counties closest and around the Hayward area. So first quarter off water and on water for both Washburn and Sawyer counties. That includes cities like Hayward, Spooner, Trigo, Minong, Winter, Stone Lake, not Cable because that's on the edge of the Bayfield County. Kind of covers the main, what you would call the Northwoods area up here that we work within. So in 2025, there were 76 sales in the first quarter. Keep in mind, the first quarter of the year is usually the slowest for sales. You know, wintertime hits in November, December. So by January, there's not as many closings happening. But then in January, some buyers actually do come on the market, especially off water, people who have been waiting till after the holidays. And there's always just sales trickling in around the area, but it's definitely the slow time compared to the other 3 quarters of the year, especially compared to the second and third quarters. But we did have 76 listings sold in 2025, and in 2026, it was 73 listings sold. So just a negligible difference of about 4% less in number of listings sold. So that remains very steady. As far as the average sale price for those properties that sold in 2025, the overall average sale price was $357,000. And again, this includes on and off water. This can be properties that are up over $1.5 million or, you know, that type of range, the whole way down to probably on the lowest end around 150 to 200,000 in our area. But this year in 2026, the average is actually up just over 10%. So the average sale price in 2026 was $395,000. Now you can take this as a sign that prices are still increasing in the area, or because it's kind of a small sampling, it's better maybe to look at the year as a whole once that's completed, or you can go back and look at my recap of 2025 that I posted last December. That'll give you a more overall picture. But this is what I'm experiencing as well. I mean, there's nuances to this, certain segments that may be increasing while others are decreasing slightly. I noticed this in 2025 over 2024. The on water was still climbing, off water was declining slightly. So when you're looking at sale prices, you can't just add 10% to what, you know, a house sold for a year ago, but you may, depending on the category you're in and your specific property, we are still potentially in an appreciating market, especially on lakefront. So I would definitely say that it is still a seller's market, but I'll get into that a little bit more. But just based on these statistics, it appears to me to still be a fairly strong seller's market going into 2026. The days on market in 2025 in the first quarter was 125 days. That's from the time it hits the market until it goes the whole way to closing. Now it is up 8% to 134 days. Again, negligible difference, but we have seen over the last 3 years or so, this days on market just climb slightly. The lowest low back in probably 2022 for days on market was around 88 or 90. And it's just steadily gone up since then. Probably every quarter, it's like a few more days on market. So now instead of getting offers immediately, necessarily, sometimes people still do for sure if it's priced appropriately, but you have to price your property appropriately for how many buyers it's going to be appealing to, so that you gain that initial interest and can hopefully sell your property pretty quickly. But as a seller, don't panic if it doesn't sell in the first 2 or 3 weeks. That's becoming more common. It may take a month or 5-6 weeks to find your buyer. And buyers, this gives you just a little more leeway again to, you know, wait a couple days to make a decision. Sometimes we're still seeing multiple offers fairly often, so you can't just kind of rest on your laurels as a buyer. If you really like a property, you do need to make a quick decision or somebody else will. But there are definitely opportunities to, maybe you can't get there immediately. You can only get there a week later. Good chance it's still on the market versus how it was a few years ago. So I think it's becoming fairly balanced in terms of the way the market is operating. However, prices have continued to rise. So that has put some buyers at a bit of a disadvantage in terms of being able to afford, since interest rates are still hanging in that 6 to 7%. We really haven't seen much change in that over the last couple of years. So affordability can be an issue for some people, but there's still a lot of cash buyers out there. There's a lot of people who can afford the current prices. So the prices are hanging tough. They're actually inclining a little bit, according to the statistic and some statistics that I had pulled last year as well. And then percentage of list price is almost exactly the same. So this is what it was listed at when it went under contract, and then what it sold for. It's about 95.5%. So buyers are negotiating about 5% on price across the board. However, it can be significantly more, maybe up to 10% if the property's been on the market for a while. And then some properties are still going over full asking. So it's a range. Also keep in mind, when people start out too high and it sits on the market, those price drops that happen prior to it going under contract are not accounted for when I say that they're selling for 95.5% of list price at the time they go under contract. So I could say it this way: once the property is priced appropriately for the market, places are selling within 5% of the full list price. So that's a good thing for you to know too, as a seller or a buyer. Expect a little negotiation potentially, especially if it's been on the market for 30, 40 days. That's normal in this market. Just one other quick statistic. Right now, as of the beginning of April of 2026, there are only 179 total properties available to choose from in all of Sawyer and Washburn County. And of those, 65 are actually under contract already, which is 36%. This is pretty common and normal that a third of the properties are under contract. It's been that way last year as well. 2/3 are not. So you really, if you're shopping right now for a property, you only have 114 properties to choose from, ranging from the highest selling to the lowest selling, off water, on water, and all of that. Now, I do expect more properties to come on the market shortly. We are getting into the spring market. The snow is almost gone. Things are starting to warm up. So more properties are going to be coming on the market, but there is somewhat slim pickings. And so when you see something that you like that comes on the market as a buyer, you should probably try to get there pretty quickly, because there's other people looking as well. I anticipate 2026 is going to be kind of a repeat of 2025, which is a seller's market, strong buyer activity, but a little bit smaller buyer pool, a little longer days on market. Buyers, I'm seeing more home sale contingencies and more inspections coming back into play in certain situations. Less competitive, but still, I would call it a seller's market. And we've been in that phase for a long time, and I honestly don't really see it changing. So if you're looking to buy, I think it's a good time. If you're looking to sell, it's a good time. And feel free to reach out to me. I do free comparative market analysis if you're on the selling side. And if you're a buyer, reach out to me and let me know what you're looking for, and we'll go from there.